Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, I'm over in the eastern garden plot, and today what I thought I'd do is go over the process that we went through doing transplants with the strawberry plants that are in the these are permanent raised beds, but these are handicap beds. I designed these years ago just in case one of us ever becomes wheelchair bound, or to the ability where we lose the ability to bend over and all. I built these beds, and we've decided over the years to grow the strawberries in these beds. In our last garden update, there was tons of weeds in these beds. I pulled out the big ones, but we got a lot of small weeds in here. Now these beds were completely loaded with strawberries, and these are June-bearing strawberry plants for the most part. And this summer, during the growing season, I neglected to come out here and check on my Orbit automatic watering system. And what ended up happening was this needed to be reset. This is the second time I've had a brand new one of these Orbits need to be reset. And I should have learned for the first time, but I missed probably 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. I definitely missed a week of checking on this, and I just assumed the watering was going well. And these plants got completely desiccated. When it's a raised bed like this, and there's really good drainage along the blocks, in between all the blocks of this raised bed, it has a really good chance of drying out, and therefore those roots of the strawberry plants got dried out. So what we started doing yesterday was we came out and used the stirrup hoe to weed the all of the new freshly germinated weeds that were starting to come up. Got those all up and out of there, then came through and stirred up the top layer of the bed. I believe that's the next thing we did do. Then I went ahead and used alfalfa pellets to add some food for the microbes that are in these beds. And then after that, it was just too hot in the day to do any transplants. So I waited until this morning and then came out and started digging up the strawberry plants that were either clustered down here or in different locations. And my goal was to put most of the strawberry plants in the center of each one of these beds. That way, when they send out runners, if they're on the edges, they could send them over the block. So putting them in the center so they could send out the runners to the side so that we can get more strawberry plants as this next season comes about. It's been unusually warm this fall. I mean, right now it's probably 67, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm out here in my t-shirt. So these aren't going quite as, they're going dormant, but not quite as quickly as they should have. But if I wait too much longer, I know I won't get to this, and I'd be trying to hustle in the springtime getting this done. So I took the risk of transplanting these plants from different spots in the beds to get them mostly in the center of the bed. And so I scooped down into the soil that was loosened up already. I put mycorrhizal fungi in each one of the holes, and then I went ahead and took the plants that were in locations that were either too crowded or they were in locations that were off to the margins. And I put them pretty much evenly down the center line. I'm guessing I'll lose 25% of them. We'll see how things work out. But they should really propagate, send out new runners like crazy in the springtime. I've got a lot more cleaning up to do around here. I've got to deal with this bed with the hostaberries or yastaberries or jostaberries, however you want to pronounce them, and get some of the transplants out of there. I haven't gotten to the rain gutter garden yet. Still got to get to that, but that's what I thought I'd talk about today, is the process that we went through getting these strawberry plants transplanted. And on top of the soil that's here, I did go ahead and add some double ground hardwood bark mulch. So the bark had been run through a grinding process 2 times to make it really small, and it starts to age, and this is the same sort of thing that I've been using for a topping on the rest of the plants. There's still tons of weed seeds below this stuff, so there will be more weeds that will emerge, but we'll have to deal with it as time goes on. So here we go. So here I am. This is yesterday morning. I'm coming out. First thing I'm doing is getting the drip tape off of the beds, so it's much easier and safer to use the stirrup hoe, because the stirrup hoe could easily slice through the drip tape. So I'm getting it off the bed, and I'm going to tuck it up next to the base of each one of these handicap beds in just a moment. So still getting some of the drip tape off here. You can see the citrus trees have come back quite a bit. I have some pruning to do with those, and I've got to get them into the coop area to be inside for the winter. So now I'm unloading a few of the tools and getting my stirrup hoe. So this is the large 3-inch wide, or is it 5 inches? This one's 5-inch wide stirrup hoe. Really love this tool. It does a very good job of dislodging the roots from all of the new young seedling weeds, the weeds that have sprouted up and created new seedlings that they're approximately 1.5 inches above the soil surface. What I'm also doing at the same time with these stirrup hoes, so as you can see, I stop in between and grab a lot of the weeds that are sitting on the surface. That isn't absolutely essential, but if the soil gets moist, those weeds can take root again, unlike some of our more desirable plants. I'm also taking the stirrup hoe and digging down probably 2.5, maybe as much as 3 inches deep into the soil of the bed as well. So, you know, the whole process here takes a fair amount of time. Another thing I did do is I went over and got some of our pots that the plants failed in, so it's pretty good compost. This is some of last year's compost or the year before. So I'm just mixing this in some of the low spots in the bed, and then I'll work that into the rest of the soil. So I'm not one who really likes doing tillage or turning the ground with a plow. But one of the things I do like to do in situations like this, when I'm going to be doing transplanting, is really disturbing the soil enough where I have very easy access for the roots from these transplanted strawberry plants to make their way down into the soil. I am doing all around the surface here because I'm also going to be feeding the soil in a couple of minutes. I'm going to be bringing over alfalfa pellets and putting it on every square inch of the beds where the plants are not located. So that'll happen in a couple of minutes. Using that stirrup hoe to really work, dislodge all of those weeds that are there right now, and also trying to dig down a little bit, get down about 2.5 inches, the depth to 3 inches of the roots as I transplant them. So, and this is all done. It's getting warmer in the daytime now, yesterday. Picking off more of the weeds that are sitting up there on the surface. Got the sweatshirt off now. Now I'm going to use the tilther, which is a battery operated, and Thea's coming out to pick up any of the weeds that are on the surface as well that were left there. And if you see, there's a light green surface here, so I didn't film this. I did get alfalfa pellets down, so that light green surface on green material on the surface of the beds are the alfalfa pellets. So I figured what I do is when I run the tilther, I'll try to work those into the first 2 to 3 inches of soil on to help feed the microorganisms in the soil. This compost the soil that makes up the bed was from compost that we created, and some that I purchased as soon as I got the beds made initially. And the entire depth of these beds is soil, so it's pretty decent soil. So I did not go down any deeper. I did not use the broad fork like I do often to increase aeration into the soil. As I was doing this tilling, and as I was doing the using the stirrup hoe, one of the things you could see was, well, there's plenty of earthworms in this soil as well. So now I'm going through. Thea's still picking a lot of the weeds, and I'm using a small rake, just trying to redistribute the soil to make it fairly even, because once we get the transplants into the soil, we're going to want to top dress this with the hardwood mulch. So it's the hardwood bark mulch. You see the floor the concrete floor in our walkways got pretty dirty from all the weeds. We just throw them down on the ground. I'll be sweeping those up later on, and that'll go right out into the compost pile. So it took a few hours just to get this much done here. And here it was just before lunchtime. We went in, had some lunch, and then we realized it's just too darn dark. It's too darn hot to risk doing the transplants. So we each went on to other projects for the rest of the day. Here we are putting the drip tapes back up, hooking those back up. There's 3 drip tapes for each one of these beds. The beds are 4 foot wide. And so this drip tape provides drip irrigation to the plants. So that's it on day 1. I went and started working over in the coop area at this point. Now here it is this morning, the 12th of October, and now I'm starting to do transplants. And you see that little plastic container that I have. Each time I open up a little hole, I'm depositing mycorrhizal fungi. So these are spores from a fungal organism that has a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship with most of the plants in the plant kingdom. Not all. So our brassicas and blueberry plants, they don't really have a benefit from the mycorrhizal fungi, but the strawberries do, and arbuscular, or a type that actually incorporates into the roots. It penetrates the root surface themselves. So by putting the mycorrhizal fungi there, once the roots make contact with it and the right moisture, the right amount of oxygen, what they will do is extend the functional root surface of it. It won't actually extend the roots themselves, but it will act like a transport system. So the mycorrhizal fungi will reach out much further than the roots of the plants can reach in order to gather the nutrients from the other microorganisms that are in the beds. And by having not disturbed the deep surface, there's lots of structural habitat for the microorganisms that are there. And by incorporating in the first 2, maybe 3 inches of the soil the alfalfa pellets, that'll provide food for the microorganisms as they come up and start munching on the pellets that are there. So then after getting the plants transplanted, I use a gentle shower to wash off, because a lot of dirt or soil gets on the surface of the leaves of the plants. And we really only want to bury those to the depth of the crown, where the transformation from the roots to basically a very short trunk, or the collar of where the strawberry plants emerge from the soil surface. So really important to get the roots in the ground, but not get the that collar where where all the leaves are going to emerge from, get that under the soil surface. When I was digging these up, some of the roots got damaged during the whole process. I tried to pick them up with clumps of soil. So they have to grow a little bit before they're going to get out and be able to make contact with the actual mycorrhizal fungi. So hopefully that'll all work out. Now I've gone down and back, and I'm getting the double ground hardwood bark mulch. So this mulch is pretty darn fine. It will help to, there are some weed seeds that have been deposited on the surface of the pile where the hardwood bark mulch was, but not nearly as many seeds as that are all in the surface of that entire strawberry bed. And by me disturbing the strawberry bed, I've caused a lot of those weed seeds to get up near the surface where they can get some sunlight, to get the moisture and all. So this will help to provide two functions. One, it'll help to suppress some of the weed seeds from emerging, not all of them, but it'll help to suppress some. It'll provide a mulching layer that will help to retain moisture in the bed as well around the roots of the strawberry plants. It'll provide an insulation blanket from the lateral surfaces because the way that we plant the strawberries, we want the crown of the root not to get buried, but around the sides we can have the mulch surface be a little bit deeper as a result, and that will help to provide some thermal barrier to allow those delicate roots that are closer to the surface of the ground to have the opportunity to not get frozen as well. So that's the couple of reasons why we're using this bark mulch. The other thing the bark mulch does do as well is that's going to gradually break down. That's a fungal organism, and strawberries require both a bacterial and fungal environment. They have a mixed microbial community to benefit their growth and development and productivity. So this will feed the fungal organisms that are there. It'll add more carbon to the soil as well. So that's another reason why we use the hardwood bark mulch. It looks pretty decent as well. I do like how much it does start to, it can just be an inch thick, and it'll do a fair job of suppressing the weed seeds that were on the surface of the soil after me going through this entire process before getting the bark mulch down. So yeah, so this system I think will work out pretty well. As I said in the introduction, I think we're probably only going to have like 75, hopefully 80% survival and production next season. I don't expect a lot of strawberry plants to produce lots of strawberries, but I think that the runners will work out pretty darn well and be very, very beneficial for us as the season progresses next year. So if you found this video of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. We always appreciate all your comments and suggestions that you have. Thanks so much, and have a great day, folks. Bye-bye now.